For this loan, the total loan value was $288 million. The civil works component was $288 million. The total loan value. Now, the component of civil works which covers these lots that we are going to talk about, the total value is $246.2 million. Now, for this civil works, this includes the construction works and the supervision services. What we are discussing today is the construction works alone. The construction works, so we're not talking about the supervision. Now, taking you to lot 1, since we are going in slowly and in order. For lot 1, the engineer's estimate for lot 1 was 179.157 billion. Yeah, the lot 1, the first row. The engineer's estimate, it's not indicated there. Eh? Was it? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, we shall correct. It's 179.157 billion. 0.157 billion. Billion, yes. The amount we contracted at was 149.463 billion. Again, there's some correction that will need to be done there. Now, now, how did we arrive at the contracted amount? We openly advertised the works. The works were openly advertised, and a total of 12 bidders participated. A total of 12 bidders participated in that tender, and I can read to the 12 bidders, international contractors, participated in this competition. The highest bidder was 296 billion, the highest bidder. And the lowest bidder was 149. The one we awarded is the one who was the lowest bidder. So,
because I see under lot 1, the lowest bidder was China Railway, number 5.8 billion as the bid price.
Wait.
No.
Which page are we?
Chair, I'm using the previous document which was circulated.
So which document are you reading?
thank you, Chair. In the process of evaluation, there's what they call a multiplication between the amount and the unit rate. We have to correct it. So that correction applied to China Railway number 5. And we shall share with you the evaluation report if you so need.
Which document are you reading? Is it this one?
The same one, yes. If you go to page 4, they're bringing copies. Number 12, appears to be the lowest bidder. From the read out price, the read out price was 142.84 billion. However, when you did the arithmetic corrections, his price went above.
Mr. Chairman, I still insist that this meeting is between you and the Executive Director. We don't have this document. The Honorable Sarah has this document.
I can sacrifice mine.
You see, we don't.
For purposes of... No, it's okay. It's okay. They are bringing more documents. You see, members.
No, the old copies, Mr. Chairman, we insist. Chairman, if we are talking about the old copies, we don't have. Now, if it is this one...
Let's first get it and you see what they are talking about. You see, honorable colleagues, why I'm insisting on the continuity is that I cannot whip you from everywhere, and you come here and we sit for 5 minutes and I tell you go back. It doesn't really, we cannot keep wasting our time. Let's continue. The thing is, we shall get to the bottom of everything. And that you are sure we shall. So get that document, Honorable my brother, and bring more copies, we proceed.
Thank you, Chair. And to add on to this,
What is it, Sabri? Because I don't want dissenting.
Mr. Chairman, you see the documents that the presentation before us. This is our sector. We are supposed to carry out oversight. Though one of us said that you can
14.9 kilometers. 14.9 kilometers. The execution period is 30 months. Now, when you come to the breakdown, as I mentioned earlier, for urban roads, beginning 5th of December 2022. Okay? So now the breakdown into the different components, which is you have the pavement works, traffic signaling works, street lighting, drainage, walkways, relocation of services. You can see the pavement was about 29.8 billion. Traffic signals were going to take 26.3 billion. Street lighting was 8.1 billion. Drainage 41 billion. Walkways are going to consume 4.6 billion, and relocation of service is going to take 10.75 billion. So that is a breakdown of the cost of the awarded contractor. That is in respect for lot 1. If you allow me, Chair, to proceed to lot 2. Under lot 2, which is the second row, the engineer's estimate for that.
I think we should handle, can we handle lot by lot?
Okay.
I think not to lose, because being a taken carrier, when we go full length, we may lose sight of some of the issues. So, now, members, do you have any issues to inquire into on lot 1? Honorable Anyima, Honorable Sarah.
I am wondering of somebody bidding twice as much or more than twice as much. The other, I mean somebody, the highest, the person who bidded the highest figure, it's more than
Two times. Or around 2 times.
2 times almost, more than that. So I'm wondering how really some of this work is done, because these are the people who normally form the cartel. This man can buy out everybody and insist you bid high so that I take the work. And that's what I'm sure has been happening all over when people are complaining about the cost per unit. Where are you going? So, Mr. Chair, really, that's what my concern. To see somebody bidding twice as much. Thank you.
Honorable Sarah.
Thank you very much, Chair. Country. Water digs, puts its pipes. I don't know where KCCA is at that point when they are doing that. The electricity wires also, Umeme also comes, puts its poles. Is there not proper planning from the ministry, from KCCA? Don't you have clear plans and say, so that you work together with water, you work together with electricity, with Umeme, to have a particular point where the water, the electricity pipes, telecom lines are going to pass, so that we avoid this wastage of resources. Now imagine, Chair, relocating water is going to cost 10.7 billion. This money would have gone to work on some other Maram Road somewhere. And when you look at the cost of relocating, even on lot 2, power relocation now here is 14 billion. So KCCA, don't you have plans so that people who are working on power, electricity, telecom lines do not lay their lines on certain places where, you know, this is for the road? Are there no such plans? So that we avert this wastage.
Actually, specific on that, I think we are going to write to National Water. Because normally, I think it is if you are relocating National Water, it is them to provide a contractor. Their contract. Huh? No. It's KCCA pays, of course, but the contractor is given by National Water. True or false?
False.
False.
Okay, it's partly true. I'll explain. I'll explain.
Before you explain, just to let the members note that we have in Makindye water relocation 135 million shillings. So when I total all this, the government is going to spend close over 50 billion shillings on just relocating these utility lines. And this money could have gone to work on another road.
That's why I want engineer to explain. You said partly. So clarify that for us.
National Water has a list of pre-qualified contractors who are more than, are they 40? There are about 49 of them. What we do, we ask them to give us the list of those 49 contractors, pre-qualified, who are accredited. We pick any 10 of them. They give us quotations. They compete in a mini competition. The lowest of them, the one who gives us the lowest bid, is the one we award.
Why did you choose 10 and not the little time I was in procurement? When someone has been pre-qualified and you have work that falls in the category of that pre-qualification, you send to all the pre-qualified suppliers. Why do you choose 10 and not send to all of them?
Thank you, Chair. The 10 are chosen randomly. Now, this 10 is an improvement from the previous past, where National Water would nominate 3 to us. We said no, you cannot just nominate 3 contractors to us. Give us your entire list. We shall randomly pick 10. Of those 10, they subject them to a small mini competition, bidding competition, and the lowest bidder takes.
What law do you follow to choose 10? What guidance, what law, what criteria? Because you can't say random. Do you close your eyes? Do you, I mean, yes. And what's wrong? Because when they give you, pre-qualification means you're on the list, there's your email, there's your contact. Why not send to all? It's an email actually. You're sending all, and they respond, those who want, those who don't want, ignore. What do you base on? Either in the law or otherwise to choose 10 and not invite all for fair and competitiveness and get the best for all?
Thank you, Chair. I'll allow my colleague who's directly in the kitchen to throw more light on that.
Thank you so much, Chair. What normally happens is that, like in respect to these ADB projects, we have a consultant for each of these contracts. So this list from National Water is passed on to the consultant, who evaluates these contractors based on who are in different tiers, and then is able to select is that the list of the 49 contractors from National Water is passed on to the consultant, where we have a supervising consultant who evaluates these firms and then puts them in tiers. So he usually picks the minimum of 10 and passes them on to the contractor, who then procures from the 10 and then is able to select like one based on the pricing.
You want to tell me that it is part of the terms of reference for that consultant to procure on your behalf?
Honorable Chair, is that the consultant is, when you look at FIDIC, for example, in this case, is the engineer, is the employer's engineer. So he's appointed by us. He's like our employee. So he does this for and on behalf of the employer.
By PPDA, or there is something different that guides them?
He follows PPDA guidelines among others.
Does he get the luxury, the right to choose without inviting all that are pre-qualified in that category? Because by choosing alone, you have already made a decision. Why not invite all? What are you treating by inviting 10 and not all? What are you treating exactly?
Honorable Chair, the way the consultants work, they work first of all with the utility company. And these companies are pre-qualified by National Water based on their various experiences. For example, you may find a company which is able to do the work of 15 billion, may not be able to have the capacity to do the work of 2 billion. So that's why they have them in tiers. So depending on, for example, if the relocation works are being estimated to be about 8 billion, then they pick companies that will fit within that tier. And those are the ones they invite to submit quotations, which are evaluated.
You see, that's why I'm asking you. If I'm pre-qualified in category Y of relocations, and the only thing you do, even her as the head of procurement, is to send an invitation. Those who think qualify and have the capacity will bid. Those who don't will not. Those who bid and don't have the capacity will be disqualified at evaluation. Why do you ignore that process and choose by your own?
Honorable Chair, to help my colleague, what we are doing now is an improvement from what was there in the past. In the past, what you said applied, where National Water would nominate. And we said, no, please give us your list. We shall ask the consultant to pick any 10, randomly picked based on their capacity, and then they pass on the contractor to give quotations. Mind you, before this relocation of works services are done, no works can start. So there is speed also involved in trying to do this. So this is an improvement, and if you deem it fit that we invite all the 49, that's also something that we can do. We can still do it. But we thought this would be a more transparent and competitive process, and also make sure that you get a contractor who has capacity. Honorable Anyima raised an issue that why should you have in the same bidding process a contractor bidding twice as much as another? These are things we are contending with. We don't have control over the market. We don't have control. When you put things out in the market reacts the way it wants.
Honorable ED, then Honorable Bukenya. I want us to, honorable colleagues, I want us to zero down on Road 1 so that when we exhaust it, but also on this specific one, before we leave it maybe, I think let them provide for us the list of the 40. Say 40, there are 40 what? 49. The chosen 10 and their submissions at that time. In this specific.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The breakdown of power relocation, water relocation, and data relocation, lumping it up with 10.7 billion. 10 billion. What wasn't there a breakdown still? If one would ask how much went into power relocation, because power and water, I don't think whether they are the same. I can see only a lump sum of a figure of 10.7.
And I think there must be a breakdown, certainly.
Because when they give the detail on page 2, those relocation things they don't talk about. Because they don't want one, I think which I assume is a series, they don't talk about the relocation process. They don't give the detail of what goes where. But Honorable Chair, I imagine the consultant is the one who comes up with this cost. You have shares. Because I'm designating
No, Chair. Can we be told what raw acquisition means? Raw acquisition. Right of way. You mean there was no road there before? Are these new?
So you compensated some people? It is zero. It is zero.
No, there is under lot 3, 14 billion, 11 billion.
We're doing lot 1 first.
Oh, we are on lot,
On lot 1. So Honorable Kenya, come in, then.
So I was first elaborating on Honorable ED's point that on page 2 where they give the detail, it is not clear where those utility bills are broken down. It is not mentioned in the detail. We don't know what goes where. But also secondly, I imagine this is the same consultant who comes up with the costs in the design, and I don't know how he comes up with the costs of relocation, and then they are transmitted to water. I don't know, and I think it's the same consultant going to choose which one fits in what they came up with, and then it's the same consultant going to recommend which company does what. I imagine that is why the process is like that. That the consultant comes at the design phase, comes up with the 10 billion to do the relocations, then in the implementation phase, this consultant comes up to help select who fits in his estimates. That is my assumption. I want clearance from
Because we also
the
want
AD.
the contractor, the contract between the consultant and KCCA, the one that does all that work. Honorable Mariam, then.
Chair, I have two concerns. One is general, and is from the ED's presentation that the civil works would consume $246.2 million, and this had two components, which involves construction and supervision. I would request that you still go ahead and give a breakdown of the two. Secondly, Chair, I'm constrained when I see KCCA going for a bidder of 148 billion, where the engineer's estimates is 179 billion. In my knowledge, I would think the engineer's estimates is to guide, and in procurement, we don't only look at the price. Don't you think this is the cause of the so many potholes that are happening on roads before even they are commissioned within the town of Kampala? Honestly, I would look at somebody who had quoted 180 billions or 161 or 160, not 149, which is 30 billion, is far below the engineer's estimates. Thank you, Chair.
Now, the way I want us to run it is that when we ask a lot, this being a technical area, we shall lose our concerns. I'll ask Hilary to come in, then the ED, Deputy ED responds, then Kayondo comes in.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just a quick one. Chair, I remember when we met the Minister, General Katuba Wamala, and he said that always the road reserves are always provided for water, electricity, and other and the line for internet. But I think I can see it's like revamping the whole thing. It's not rehabilitation work, just like revamping the whole thing, as if the drainages were not existing before. So it's like we are starting afresh to do the work, because now there is no way you are going to get the findings after the work that here the power line was maybe the power line was relocated. You cannot actually, know, because I see in some areas they are always road reserve. It's always provided for, and this is an authority. It's an independent body like UNRWA. It's an autonomous body. So why is it that you are starting like it's fresh? It has now, it's like things, those things were not existing before. It's like you are now doing it.
By the way, it's bringing a very intriguing question. Was there a road where you're putting, for example, this lot 1, was there a road? Has it ever been tarmacked in history or never? Lot 1, there was a road, tarmacked. and some of them were tarmacked. So, how come there was a shift now of, were you expanding?
Some of them were expanding, some of them were widening, some of them were upgrading.
Because that's why we need to visit these roads. After all, these are small, few kilometers. Because if they were roads, that means some of these things were there even before. So we would want to see. So you attend to those concerns, and if they leave out your issue, then you raise it again.
I'll start off with the last question. I'd like to go to say that most of our roads, they're built on land that is not ours. Honorable Chair, I'd like to say this. Most of our roads are built on land that is not ours. We're just trying to even acquire right of way as we build them. The way we go about it, we are doing what we call voluntary land contribution. We do not pay for this land. We go through the politicians and people voluntarily give up this land. We don't pay for it because we cannot afford it. The land in Kampala is so expensive. In any case, should we try to compensate for land in Kampala, it can even sometimes be comparable to the cost of the road. It's only if we damage somebody's wall or excessively intrude into somebody's property that we consider compensation. In fact, the CGV came up with a new policy. If there's been an existing road on your land, you have to surrender that part of the land. So regarding whether drainage were existing, many times the drainage exists, but these roads are many times, they have outlived their design lives, the drainages are damaged, they have probably open drains, and now we're going to construct covered drains. So that change alone.
Chairman, clarification before
Yes.
he leaves that point. He said most of the roads are built on the land that is not ours. Does Kampala have a physical plan, and do you approve these building plans as the community goes on to construct? Do you approve that? Do you look at what you want to do in the future and what someone wants to do now?
Thank you, Chair and Member. I'd like to say this. These roads we have in Kampala predate many of us. They are over 25, 35 years old. So the action that happened a long time ago. We're trying to correct a broken system. Building on somebody's land to create a road was done a long time ago. Right now, we're just trying to correct what was broken a long time ago. So to ask us to fix it now, when the road was already there, is asking us for too much. Now I'll go on to the issues that were asked, apart from the last one. I'll start off with Honorable Shs10Bn's issue of poor planning between National Water or MEME and KCCA to avoid wastage of resources. Now what we're doing to mitigate this is ask for voluntary land contribution. People are giving up land voluntarily for free so they can have the benefit of having better infrastructure around them. By so doing, we are able to acquire right of way. We are able to get title for the corridor of the road. Had we been paying, government would be feeling the pain. Good enough, the politicians know and appreciate the value of roads, and they're supporting us actively to ensure that this land is ceded to KCCA and we have a corridor for those roads. And then we can now begin talking of saving the corridors for utilities later. Now, Honorable Shs10Bn raised the issue of poor planning. As I say, these are issues that were done 20, 35 years ago. What planning can KCCA do now, apart from trying to correct mistakes that were done in the past? These are very old infrastructure. Even National Water built the infrastructure probably 15 or 20 years ago, not knowing that KCCA would even acquire this loan. And also did not know, probably we were not even there. In 2015, that's when this loan was committed. So some of these things are beyond planning, although we can now correct the mistakes of the past. Now the issue of, a member raised the issue of why go for a contractor who's below the engineer's estimate? Isn't this why, when the estimate is 179, we give him at 149? Isn't this why we have potholes? We're also being asked, Why are you inflating the bills of quantities? So you wonder where you should go. We openly advertise these tenders, and the safest way, even myself, I would go for a more capable bidder if I had the choice. A lower price would be something that concerns me. However, the questions that will be asked if you avoid the lowest bidder will be much, much more than if you safely give the lowest bidder. And the other thing we should be aware about, even the bank is overseeing and giving us prior approval of all this. It is not only KCCA that makes a decision. The bank must concur. And if the bank doesn't concur, you either government finances it or you go by the bank's recommendation. And in this case, the bank stood with the lowest bidder. Regarding the breakdown of the civil works, we shall provide that. The issue of why bids are twice as high, in some cases as the lowest and the highest bidder, we don't control the market. Every contractor bids based on his own assumptions. We follow the bidding rules. It's the lowest compliant bidder who's responsive to the bidding requirements is the one we give the contract. Now the issue of the fact that the contractor who designs the relocation of services is the same one who supervises them, that is not correct. We have a different consultant who designed these works and a different consultant who supervised these works, who's supervising these works. The issue is, of course, National Water is only constant in all this. They have to give us the list of the pre-qualified providers who we have to now advance, because you cannot use a provider who National Water has not accredited. Honorable Chair, you raised the issue of the contractors being selected by National Water. Yes, partly true, but we take it out of their hands to ensure that there is competition and we can get value for money by maximizing competition.
Is this contract between, so who signed this contract? Is it between KCCA and is it between the KCCA and the relocator, or with who?
It's the contractor and the relocation subcontractor, because it's a provisional sum under his contract, and we give him what we give him. We give him an overhead for disbursing that provisional sum. The contractor, so he signs a contract with the subcontractor for relocation.
So why does National Water have to submit to you and not to the contractor? Is it in the law? How do you, now you have awarded a contract, true? After awarding a contract, there is someone who is supposed to relocate. This person is going to deal with the contractor and not KCCA. How then do you determine for the contractor on who should do the relocation? Why can the contractor who is signing up with this relocator to be the one to do the selection?
I think the rationale behind all this is that National Water is the owner, or UMEME are the owner of the infrastructure. So they know best which contractors can handle their works better. So give us people who you think are professional enough to handle your infrastructure better, so that they can be able to sign off with the main contractor and do their work. And National Water will also supervise that work. UMEME also supervise their relocation, while their subcontractors are doing it under the
You see why I'm asking this? It's you that forward this contractor, the subcontractor actually, true? You get the water person who is supposed to relocate, your consultant selects them.
Consultant advances them to the contractor. The contractor now conducts a mini competition.
What does your consultant do?
Okay, let me ask the man with the detail.
Thank you so much. What happens is that once the list has been prior approved by both the National Water and the consultant, it is passed on to the contractor, who conducts a mini procurement, and then writes a report and sends to the consultant. So the consultant reviews that.
The number of lanes is a 2-lane system. We have the contract amount, but the heading is having the unit cost per kilometer of the standard 2-lane asphalt concrete road in Kampala City under Kampala Road. Then here you have the drainage cost, the pavement cost, street lighting, signal codes, road furniture. Those are the activities that are going to be done in lot 1. But when you look at the rate, the units, You can't tell me that you are having a kilometer and then you are having drainage, pavement, street lighting, still in kilometers. So we would request that maybe you'll expound more on this further breakdown. When you are talking of lot 1, which has Wamala, Ruwafu, those are the roads involved in lot 1. And then you are having the intervention, those are the activities you are going to do. With Wamala, you are going to do the reconstruction. That is the intervention. Then you are having the road length, that is the length of the road you are going to do in that column. Then you are having the number of lanes. And then it is a 2-lane with a length a kilometer. That means the unit rate, the measurement rate unit is a kilometer. You get it? Then, now other activities we are going to do are the drainage. Now here you are putting the drainage costs. The drainage cost.
The 10.43, 10.463.
Yeah, that's the drainage cost. That means that you are measuring drainage in kilometers.
Yes, true.
But drainage works are not measured in kilometers. Then the pavement costs, drainage works are measured in square meters.
Before you go so fast, because the covered drains are in linear meters.
It's just they're linear meters.
So they're running by except of course the cross drains. Except the cross drainage. Okay, I get your point, but it's complicated. Okay, we have longitudinal drains and cross drainage structures.
Yes.
Do you want us to separate them?
The unit rate for the unit measurement should be in square meters. That's for drainages. Then 2, the street lighting costs them in kilometers.
Okay, for signals, no. But street lighting we can go by kilometer.
Then at least when you do this, you give a further breakdown of the unit rates and what have you.
Okay.
Then 2, engineer, when you have a big deviation from the engineer's estimate and then the quotations of other companies, it is an indication to the contractor that maybe probably there is something you didn't foresee. If you're having an engineering estimate of 171 and you're having a quotation of 298 billion, did you do some kind of survey why exactly this person had to quote that high? Because probably we're having so many contractors abandoning work simply because there are something. Because what I understand, these people went and they did a site visit. So what preempted these people to quote this high? And don't we expect sagas like somebody abandoning site, probably of unforeseen thing? So when there is a higher quotation from more than 2-3 people, it should be an indicator, engineer, that somehow, somewhere, there's something we didn't foresee at the budgeting estimation. So did you put that into consideration? Thank you.
But also, Honorable Kayondo, you may want to know that the procurement that I know, they are always indication. So, looking at face value may not exactly give you what is likely to be accurate. I think as long as the due process is followed, the proper procurement process is followed, I think then you'd give a benefit of doubt that someone would do work.
Can I respond?
You proceed. But also, here on page 2, you are saying 15.33 road length in kilometers. Here you had reported 14.9 kilometers. What is that difference of 1 kilometer?
We shall explain it. We shall try to explain it. Thank you, Chair. I'll at one point ask my head of procurement to explain what due diligence was done on the costs. Now, the issue of lowest bidders, it is a very trying. The issue of low bids and lowest awarded bids or contracts to bidders with low prices, it's a very challenging thing for entities. I'll give you an example. Under the KDIP 2, which we are closing now, we gave the lowest bid, the contract, the lowest bidder on Lubiji Channel and Nakamiro Channel. They performed so poorly, but we had to endure it. Now, because now, if you go to the higher bidder, again, this committee will ask us the very difficult questions. Why did you fail to take advantage of the 20 billion difference? So it is something we need to interrogate either soberly, say, if we want performance, let's pay. Because for Lubiji now, government is going to inherit a bill of about probably 20 billion because the bank had to cut off the date of financing. We're going to inherit undone work. So these are issues we need to contend with and say now, the lowest bidder is not always reflective of what represents value for money.
You see, engineer, issues of loss, it has never been that the lowest bidder must take it. No. They assess other, she knows her in procurement herself. They look at the whole process. But also, what you're saying, in USMID 2, which we are assessing also, those that quoted highest are the ones that have failed to finish the work. Yes. Those who had the highest award in terms of figures have failed. Those who got contracts at lower values have finished their work. It comes back to the credibility of the institution that you have awarded. It has nothing to do, as long as someone has calculated their figures. Naturally, in business, some people want high profits, others want minimum. So I think we would still look at the quality, at the integrity of an institution that has got a contract, not necessarily on the figures and whether the processes have been duly followed.
Thank you, Chair, through you, ED. Allow me add my voice and provide some more clarification regarding the low bid that were returned. This was an international bidding process, as we had stated earlier, and it was subjected to prior review procedures by the funder, which is ADB. So when we got, during evaluation, those bids were evaluated under 4 stages: the preliminary, the technical, financial, and they were subjected to post-qualification to look at their past performance. And in fact, Lot 1, it was a subject of discussion with the bank. We first recommended the second best, lowest. The bank returned it. They looked at the past performance because the same firm had done work under KDIP 2, which is Acacia, Stretch, and all those. You can look at those roads. The same bidder had returned low bids, though during contract implementation, we had to tweak a bit, but we had issues of COVID, as you recall. Their issues were not that they did not have capacity, but they had taken long to complete the works. So we are confident, and I think it is too early to speculate that these bidders might not perform, because as we speak, their progress is not as alarming. Yeah, it is not as alarming. Otherwise, we followed the due process. We did post-qualification and due diligence, and they were found competent. Thank you.
And you have gone to what I wanted to ask.
Yes.
How far is this work? Because they signed in December 2022, and they are supposed to finish in 2025, I think, June. So how far are these works? Have they all started? At least all these roads in Lot 1, have they all started? Have work started?
Yes, they've started, and I request maybe, this is a contract management issue. We only receive reports as PDU. I request the technical person to respond to that.
The technical person.
Made some significant progress. And under Lot 1, we have roads like Old Movende, where the contract has already started, although we also have some issues of right-of-way. Then, as we speak now, Kabega Road, which is under Lot 1, The contractor has already put asphalt, is now doing the curbstones and walkways. We also have Chigala under lot 1, where the earthworks are progressing and drainage works are also progressing. So I would comfortably put it at the moment at about 8%.
How often do you do performance reports?
We do monthly. We have monthly performance reports, contract management reports. We also have monthly site meetings.
Can we have these reports?
Yes, we can provide
so
them.
far.
Yes.
When can you provide them?
As soon as we get back, probably.
Give us a day. No problem. I don't want to decide for you. I want you to choose a date and we hold it on your date. Friday. Okay. Can we proceed? Okay.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm sorry I came a bit late, but there are two things that I would like to get the team from KCCA to expound more. Because, see, the biggest challenge that there has been is for bidders to bid low and then they start having variations. So are these contracts locked? Are there going to be variations or not? That's one question. Question number 2, Morris has talked about it, the right of way. We have discussed this before, and we find that sometimes entities sign contracts when they don't have a right of way. And then the projects delay to be completed or to be started. And in the end, government loses a lot of money. There are extensions, there are cost implications. So I would like to know from the team why you sign contracts before you get a right of way, at least substantially. Maybe getting 60 or more % of the right of way before you sign a contract, because it is a big problem for the nation. Thank you.
Let's respond and then we go to lot 2.
Thank you, Chair. The issues of whether the contracts are locked, there are going to be no variations, I cannot give you any guarantee on that, because many times we meet unexpected conditions or unexpected needs. I'll give you an example. At Bugolobi, where we have the interface between Spring Road and Old Port Bell Road, the jam there during school days is unbelievable. It was designed to stay at grade. When you do the analysis, if you have a grade separated junction there, you can improve the traffic situation in there. So we're engaging the bank to see whether we can have a grade separated junction there. The traffic going to Luzira remains undisrupted by the local traffic around, which will be moving on the surface. So those technical adjustments to improve the situation, because when the design was done, the situation was not as acute as it is right now. So the good thing is that we have prior reviews from the bank before we undertake any need for a variation. So I cannot rule out the need for a variation, but the need must be properly justified, and we shall make sure that is done. The issue of right of way being done before we sign contracts, as you're aware, KCCA is perennially underfunded. Perennially underfunded. We don't have the comfort of clearing right of way before. In fact, for one lot, actually we got the supervision consultant even later than the contractor. So sometimes we have challenges as an institution regarding financing activities in advance because we don't have resources. We move perennially under debt. Maurice, do you want to add on?
Usually,
the progress in terms of time, but no mention was actually made on the financial progress. Can you try to make highlights on that? And then, under Lot 1, you clearly stated that you had challenges of the right of way. But interestingly, there was no budgetary provision for that. And yet, under Lot 3, there was budgetary provision of right of way of about 11 billion.
KCRP was for acquisition of land for lorry and bus depots. We don't have any money for paying for compensation of land directly. We're relying entirely on voluntary land contributions by people adjacent to the roads. So, but I'll ask my colleague to be able to handle that, and we shall be able to provide the issue of financial progress. So this money is for purchasing land for lorry and bus parks, lorry parks at the bus depot, not for paying for land. Yes. Well, during the preparation of this project, the bank recognized that there are no lorry provisions for lorry parks in the city. You find them parked adjacent to roads in unfavorable places, and then there's no bus depot in the city. So they want us to purchase land so they can be able to put the infrastructure necessary for them to operate.
So what is the life expectancy of these roads?
We're looking at 20 years.
Looking at 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was asking about here you are rated 14 kilometers, and then here it is 14.9, then 15.33. What brings about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you look at, for example, Lot 1, we have junctions. So when you are constructing these traffic junctions, some of them are not along the road which is being constructed. So we take consideration of the arms for the junctions. That's why you get the extra length.
So at what point do you consider them? How come in the same document you're reporting about different figures?
Mr. Chair, we shall.
Are they not tendered out? Are they not part of the contract?
We shall reconcile these figures and when we revert to you. Absolutely.
So by lot 1 alone, on average, a kilometer is at 10 billion. Yeah? If you go by a kilometer is average 14 kilometers, 149 billion spread through 14 kilometers. So roughly a kilometer of road is 10 point something billion. Yeah. You can answer.
Through ED, Mr. Chair, if you look at the last column, 2 columns of I think page 2, you'll see that our average cost, inclusive of general items, that's where we find things like a contractor's establishment on site, issues like relocation of utilities, issues like provision of engineers' facilities like the vehicles. The cost is 7.98 billion per kilometer. Then if you are excluding those general items, which don't constitute part of the physical works, we are having 6.3 billion as average cost, if you want to look at it from the global perspective. Why do I say so? Is that if you take that approach where you say 149 and you want to divide, there are so many drivers, for example, within. For instance, like one of the honorables was saying, drainage, it's talking about 10.4. Drainage is measured in square meters. But what we did, we say, let us look at the drainage cost.
But you are reporting it in kilometers.
Ideally, why we reported it in kilometers, Mr. Chairman, is that we looked at the cost of making a road, which involves construction of the road itself, that's the pavement and the foundation, together with the drainage works, the walkways, the street lighting, and the junction. So we got that aggregated cost, and then we are able to split it up depending on the length of the road.
And that is still, we're saying, all that done in 1 kilometer, you'd still come to an average of 10 billion. Because you want to run away from what is on paper. Because you're saying 149 billion for 14.9 kilometers. And now you want to take away drainage from the road.
I think, Chair, you're very right. When we are talking about a cost, it doesn't matter whether it is a junction, whether it is, we are talking about a cost of the road, a unit cost of the road. And even this one includes taxes, but it's also a cost. Although, of course, the VAT can be refunded, but still a cost to the road. So I think what the team from KCCA needs to explain to us is the maybe comparability. How are you comparing with other, maybe other cities, either in Uganda or outside Uganda? What could be, so that you make us comfortable that this is not too expensive. Otherwise, it is part of the cost. But also, Chair, about the general costs. What is this general cost? Because when you have a road, when you have a bid and the general cost is 25 billion, this general cost needs to be understood properly. And this one, this side, second page, the second page, general cost. And also, if I'm doing 15.33 kilometers of road, and the general cost is 25 billion, and out of this, and we are talking about 149 billion, but here down on road 2, where the amount is 138 billion, the general cost is 30 billion. What is the basis? We need to understand. Is there any basis? Is there a percentage of general cost? Is it just anyone can say, for me, I'm bidding 120 billion, but 90 is general cost? What is the rationale for this general cost? And why is it that a higher amount of 149 has a lower, a smaller general cost compared to this 138, which has 30 billion? Thank you, Chair.
Maybe you address those and whether you have made any payments to this effect for the works already. For example, lot 1, have you paid any money to the contractor so far? If yes, how much? Then we go to lot 2.
Thank you, Chair. We have paid to the contractor some money. I cannot specifically tell you how much right now. Do you have them?
But who verifies?
But we shall.
You said he's the technical man. Who verifies the invoices?
He's the man on the ground.
And he doesn't know?
Okay, we've paid the advance payment. All I know, we've paid the advance payment. How many certificates have we paid so far?
I think for lot 1, we have like 2 certificates.
Amounting to how much, roughly?
Unfortunately, Honorable Chair, I don't have that of it.
So you'll provide that on Friday as well?
Yes, we'll provide that.
Okay. And now the issues that he raised.
Yes, Honorable raises a very interesting question, which is also something that sometimes is out of our control. Now, what is in general costs? General costs include things like contractors' establishment, mobilization, and also running costs for the project, offices, vehicles, okay? Now, of course, some of these costs, most of them are paid in advance, which could probably be called some kind of front loading. So you have no specific mechanism. Of course, I can see from lot 2, it's like 30%. 30% is in general costs. And for lot 1, you have about 21%. We don't have complete control over how the contractor sometimes spreads his costs in the contract.
So are you saying you've already, for example, for lot 1, is this general cost front loaded? Have you already paid?
No, we have not paid the whole of it. But these are costs that you meet early in the life of the contract.
So you want to check for us how much you have paid of this general?
We can check how much we have paid.
Chair, is that someone can actually put a lot of general costs because they know that they are going to get it early in advance, and so before even the work is done. So it has this causes a bigger problem. Because if the intention, if I'm a contractor and I know that, for example, for Route 2, if I know that before I even start work, I can get these general costs, I can inflate them. And someone can even run away. Recently it happened in UNRWA. You remember the other were the tax guys who came and took $80 million and ran away. So isn't there a control that can be there in bidding, maybe in the bidding document, to put a cap? Can someone just say, out of the 149 billion, 80 billion is my general cost? Can that happen? We need to know the rationale, you know.
Thank you, through Chair. We have a number of mechanisms to protect the client. We have first and foremost a performance security, which is about 10% of the contract value. We do have retention. On every certificate we pay, we retain about 10%. Even the advance, we advance the contractor, we have a guarantee. Isn't it 10%? So technically, in the early life of the contract, we have guarantees worth 20% of the contract value. In the early life, together with the 10% retained on each payment until a certain level, maybe 30% when we begin to release it. So the contract has protective mechanisms to ensure that the client is not exposed.
Okay. Maybe you'll also give us the evaluation for lot 1, where and the process of where you are rectifying the calculation issues. That process, we need to look at it, and the evaluation process, we need to look at it. So, lot 2, we got lot 2, honorable colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. For lot 2 comprises the reconstruction and dualing. Why I'm emphasizing now dualing is because we're looking at a completely different animal at this point, of 10.1 kilometers of Portbell Road and Spring Roads, including the signalization of 5 junctions. So that entire road of 10.1 kilometers, 10.01 is going to be dualized. That's you're going to have 4 lanes, together with the five junctions in Nakawa division. Now, this contract, for this project, the engineer's estimate was 149.3 billion. And the contract was awarded at a cost of 138.53 billion.
Estimate?
149.3
billion.
Yes, and the contract award was awarded at 138.5. Now, when you 138.5. Where? No, the right number I think is 0.5. I apologize, 138.553. That was awarded contract value. Now,
but sorry for taking you back. Sorry. On page 1 of lot 1, you report 149.8. On page 2, lot 1 or lot 1? Sorry, lot 1. On lot 1, you report 1 because of this variation. It has reminded me. You report 149.83. Here you report on page 2. You report 149.463. And that this same issue applies to the length. Different, you're reporting different numbers, figures. What are we taking? Because your contract amount is 149.46. Now, the other side, it is 149.83. What is it? And the same applies to length, 14.9.
149.83. And what are you reading? I'm wondering if you could also take me in small steps.
Total cost, first page.
Lot 1, you read. What are you reading?
Total first page. Got first page. Total cost. Lot 1. Total cost. How much is it?
149.83.
Go to total cost, page 2 for the same lot. Contract amount.
149.463.
A difference of 368 million. So what is this?
Chair, I would like to apologize. Those are typographical errors which I think we're going to go back and quality assure to make sure what we submit is correct. But this document that we've shared, has the more authoritative numbers.
But your document is not even signed, so it's even worse than...
We shall bring it signed, sir. But as you said, we're discussing for clarifying. Yeah.
Now, because you can see, there is a variation almost on every load in terms of your reporting. So, and that's the concern, maybe why members were not very comfortable. But then proceed.
Thank you. Now, after going through an open international tendering process, a total of 13 bidders participated in that tender. Their prices ranged from the problem. Some of them are in euros and Uganda shillings, but I believe and trust we gave the lowest bidder. That was China's Zhejiang, who's the fourth bidder in the opening list, whose total cost in Uganda shillings was 138.534 billion. That's the cost at which we awarded that contract. Lot 2. Now, when it comes to the breakdown, 138.534 billion. 138.534 billion is a cost at which we awarded. Now, when you got the breakdown into the pavement, traffic signals, street lighting, drainage, walkways, and power and relocation of services, the prices of 27.7 billion. But again, now given that the costs are in question, we shall have to revisit this. I'm not so sure whether the breakdown corresponds to the number, which is there's a discrepancy of about 300 million, I mean. But we shall provide accurate numbers. Right now, we're just trying to clarify. The project execution period is 36 months, and of course, the contracts were started on the 5th of December, and we expect the completion date to be 5th of December 2025. So, with that submission, Chair,
and work has started?
Work has started, yes.
And you have these reports?
Yes, the contract management reports are available, and if you so demand,
Friday?
we shall provide for all on Friday.
Apparently, you are reporting fiscal progress at what percentage? If you
at the moment, Maurice, could you update us on the current progress? Lot 2 years.
Thank you, Chair. The contractor is currently doing drainage works on Port Bell Road and also part of the pavement works. At the same time, thank you so much for the guidance, ED. The contractor has finished relocation of utilities on Port Bell Road. That is for water and for umeme. He has also started on the permanent works, that is the drainage works, and then the pavement construction. At the same time, he has also started on the bridge structure, which is at near MUBS. Some of you have taken that route. I think you have seen there is some work which is ongoing.
And that comes 2.7 of progress.
In the region of about 4%. It has moved a little bit above 2.7%.
So when did you generate this? This, no, it is. Actually, on this one, you reported 0.
That was in May.
No, the email under which this thing was sent was May. I shared with you a copy of the email. So at May it was 0. This is August.
So you printed this in May and kept it, and you're delivering it in August. You want us to take you serious?
Mr. Chair, this is I showed you the time. The reason we're here is because of that email exchange with the previous chair. And of course, we just printed off, but now we're going to give you the most updated progress, which is 4%.
Honorable colleagues, any issues on lot 2, or we proceed? Okay. Honorable.
I hope these pavements that we're talking about, or drainages that we're talking about, are going to be covered drainages and not open.